Okay, so good evening, everyone. So, how are we doing? Have we written prelims? Waiting for the result. Okay. So, result ki ambiguity hai. Fine. So, today's discussion will revolve around the ATS test series, the augmented test series, specifically with respect to anthropology. And along with that, we'll also try to understand that what kind of answer writing is happening with reference to the toppers copies also. That also we'll try to do. Apart from that, we'll take up one PYQ and we'll try to decode it. What should be the methodology and how should we probably approach when we are beginning to write answers. Okay, so we'll have this agenda for today's discussion. Beginning with the ATS, of course. See, till now we are in that particular frame or phase of our civil services preparation where now we probably have 3 months within which we have to master anthropology in a way that we should be able to write good answers. So the primary focus here should be firstly structuring of answers. There's a lot of focus intermittently which has been renewedly highlighted upon, that is with reference to content. There's already a great degree of content overload. Therefore, please go to the next step. Okay. Apart from the content, let's try to understand what should be the structuring of the answers, what kind of examples should be quoted, what should be standard introduction and conclusions, and relevant case studies and contemporary relevance, as we say, where it has to be quoted, right? So that is why structuring is kept in the upper part. Thirdly, it will ensure timely revision. Purpose of any test series, the way it has been designed, you will predominantly see that there are sectional tests and then full length tests, right? So the sectional tests will test you by dividing the syllabus into smaller chunks, which will enable more easier and more rapid revision if you follow the timeline, if you stick to the timeline, right? That is the whole logic of sectional tests. Whereas the full length tests will give you a overtime analysis of how are you able to write your answers, whether you're able to complete the paper in time. Because most of the time that's considered to be one of the major setbacks for people who are focusing more on content delivery, quality wise, right? So revision is important. Apart from that, one of the most important aspects of any test series, specifically here, I would like to highlight that is the feedback mechanism which you get after your timely evaluation of the tests. Okay, wantedly there's a term which I'm using, timely evaluation, because if I'm able to fix my mistakes early on when I begin writing my tests, and if I reflect on those mistakes, it becomes easier for me to improve in the later tests. Okay, so most importantly, these are the motives or objectives, so to speak, of any test series or why a test series exists. And finally, you will get a model answer for each question you write. These are model answers. These are not ideal answers. I like to see, you must have seen various topper strategies as to how they were approaching the mains examination. You must have watched the interviews of Narayan Amit also, okay, Akshat Jain sir also, Vivek Bhasmi also. There has been a specific trend which has been followed year after year. In some areas, in some years, there's more focus on content. There's more focus that if I write more scholars, I'll get more marks. Okay, we have this notion that if there's a question on marriage, should I write 5 definitions? So these kind of questions, they keep on reoccurring. Okay, again, the main idea here is through model answers to get a holistic coverage or the skeleton of the answer. You should get the framework rather than the content. Okay, And the crux of the discussion would be that even if I'm not able to memorize, let's say, very big definitions or scholarly definitions for every topic, I should have that much understanding that I can frame my own definition for that particular concept. Okay, so that my question doesn't go unanswered. And the sixth aspect is about the dynamity of the subject now. There are portions like biological anthropology, archaeology, fossils, that part which is still static. But increasingly, if you look at the trend, there's a certain degree of dynamic nature which is being inculcated year after year. Okay, therefore, you might find questions like this. No, in paper 2, we had relevance of Purusharthas in 21st century. Okay, this is one example. That rather than asking you straightly about what is Purushartha or what is the basic defining characteristics of the Indian society, so to speak, they asked you about its relevance today, right? So in this way, the questions are getting tweaked. And you will not find any ready-made prototype anywhere, so to speak, because we cannot sit in the brains of the examiner. But when you write tests, you will get a hang of answering the questions within a stipulated time. That is the whole idea, that we have to be able to complete the paper, right? This is about each and every test series, whatever test series we are contemplating here. Now, if I specifically tell you about Anthropology ATS here, what is going to be the deliverables, so to speak? So you have a combination of sectional plus full-length tests. The division being in accordance with the syllabus. You will find 4 tests here encompassing paper 1, paper 2, and these are full-length tests. After this test, the day you write it, the next day you will get model answers. Okay, they are available both in offline and online mode, depending upon the time frame in which you are able to complete the syllabus. There's another module here which is called ATS Plus. There's only one edition in ATS Plus. You get to have certain number of revision classes. They'll be in a pre-recorded format which will be available to you on your portal. And they are not in a stereotypically classic way of whatever you already know. They are not channelized in that manner. It might involve different angles. For example, ranging from case studies to conceptual depths to coverance of major or more scholars also, right? So yes, the focus here is going to be on enriching the content. You have to take an informed decision, okay, in terms of where to draw the line between content overload and to beautifully replicate what we already know, right? So this is about Anthropology ATS, which we have designed here, right? Apart from that, yes, the aspect of timely evaluation of the copies goes without saying. You'll get it within 48 hours. Okay, you'll get a detailed feedback. And then you also have a inbuilt mentorship here. So where you have one-on-one discussions with respect to any specific topic or question or model answer, whatever is the related problem. Clear? Okay, this is the module which we have here for anthropology specifically. Now, if we move on to one of the most basic asked questions now, what should be the coverage strategy for the 3 months, more specifically after your prelims result comes? There are different sections of issues which students are facing right now. Some of them are in the stage that we know that we'll clear the prelims, but we have not started reading anthropology at any time in the past. So we have to cover anthropology in a very concise way. There's the second lot who have taken certain courses, who know about certain concepts, but they do not have a proper organized material to stand back on. They do not have properly formulated notes. And the third section is of those people who have read the material once or twice, but they lack revision or they haven't done answer writing. So depending upon in which category you feel that you're sitting in right now, you can tweak your strategy. Okay, I'll probably enlist one of the most building blocks if there's somebody who doesn't know anything or who do not have any kind of a organized note format. They can fall back on this book to be the skeleton of their preparation if you do not have any notes. Okay, if you have not prepared anything on your own and you have not taken any classes, nothing, but we have to write the mains. So to do that in that stipulated time, fall back on this book, which will form your base, so to speak, or skeleton. I hope we all know about this book also. It will give you a stereotype, how answer building has to be done, how you have to present the information at your disposal, and all such things. Now, talking about the next level, for people where we are clear with our concepts, but we are looking here and there to add value to our notes. Value addition happens in different forms. One of the most common conundrum which people in anthropology are facing now is that we are repeating examples, or if we are referring to the same notes, we are going to write same examples and we end up getting same marks. So therefore, in certain years, you will see that the marks are saturating after reaching a certain point. To do that, it depends on each one of us. If we have been taking case studies or examples from the newspaper regularly, then we are fine. We have our own unique sets of examples to use. But if that has not happened, and obviously we are going to write mains, so what do we do here? For portion of biological anthropology, you can refer to all these notes are available on the internet, okay? So there's nothing hidden here. These are the best sources which we can refer back to. For socio-cultural anthropology, now there's one catch here for socio-cultural, and this is also true for the fossil part, archaeological anthropology also. You can go to Amit. Okay. The only conundrum here with respect to these notes, if some of you have prepared from these, is that there is a lot of information overload. There are a lot of examples, okay? Irrespective of the place they have been sourced from. They have been sourced from research journals or from different books, not just Ember and Ember. There are different books which have been covered. So do not get scared. That is why I'm already telling you there's an overload of information here in these notes. Okay, specifically with respect to socio-cultural part also and the fossil parts also. So if our skeleton is only this, and if we are looking to make sure that our answer looks more enriched, more diversified, if you are looking for value addition in that perspective, you can take selective examples from these sources. Obviously, for the static part, both are equally polished. Okay, these are the epitome of notes which you can right now find in the market, right? So you can do your value addition from both these spaces. Apart from that, if we are looking for value addition from current affairs, you are anyways going to study current affairs for your GS part also, right? I'm assuming that everybody is going to read any monthly magazine and you're going to supplement it. While you read that, if you find any information that is relevant from anthropological point of view, make sure you lift it up and write it in anthro section separately. What will happen then is, if, for example, last year sologamy was in news. Now, if I take up this issue and I write it in the chapter called marriage of my own compiled notes, so the next time before the exam, if I come and revise the chapter marriage, I will automatically have a case study on the right-hand side for sologamy. I hope you're understanding, right? Similarly, right now, the Supreme Court has reserved its decision for this case. We all know this. So therefore, this is going to be an excellent case study interlinked with gender disparity and LGBTQ rights across the world, not just India. So these are live examples which are happening around us, which can any day be asked in the exam also, and which can be used as an excellent example. Another example, if you read newspapers, day before yesterday, a country was in news. There was a small news snippet in Indian Express about Mauritiana. Does anyone recall this news? Yes, Mauritiana. Where is this country? Yes, yes. Can any of you recall why was the country in news? As I was telling you, it was not a headline, but it was in news. So can we recall why? No? So this was in news because they were celebrating divorce. And the conflicting angle is that this is a predominantly Muslim nation, which is celebrating divorces in what way? By having a proper Sangeet function, by having Mehendi functions. So the way we celebrate marriage, they were found celebrating divorces. So this will again form a part of your case study in the chapter of marriage, where you can give these kind of examples. See, this is the kind of work which can be done on a day-to-day basis. Every day anthropology news is not going to come. Okay, it will come on some days only. And if we are just skimming through the newspaper also, if we add these kind of snippets to our notes, your notes become, your own personalized touch has been given to the notes. That is the whole idea. If you remember, there was a PYQ earlier on. UPSC asked us that where do you situate live-in relationships in the realm of Indian society? What would this mean? What kind of social sanction is given to these relationships? What is the degree of acceptance? Okay, is it accepted? You can write examples where people find it very difficult to even rent homes. You're not even given homes on rent. So these are certain examples which you will write when you are arguing about this idea. Okay, now this is not a static part. What is static part? Society and culture separately, you are studying them, their characteristic features, definition, all of that is there. But the kind of questions they are asking is getting different day by day. Similarly, they can ask us, where do you situate sologamy in the fabric of marriage? Because there was a PYQ where it was a short note answer 10 marker, debate the universality of definition of marriage. That question has been asked. So this can also probably be asked. So this is how you will cover the analytical domain, irrespective of the fact whether you have done value addition in the form of your own personalized examples or not. You can fall back to these notes for adding value to the static part. Okay, see, in certain scenario, you will see you do not even have short notes for certain static parts also. Okay, for example, evolution of religion. If I ask you to write a short note now, what will you write? Apart from the golden bow and Fraser, above that I'm asking you, what will we write in religion? Can you tell the functionalist and structural functionalist perspective of religion? This is one example I'm giving you. When I'm asking you about religion, the first example which we all suddenly remember will either be animism, totemism, animatism, animal sacrifice, ancestor worship, because they were the beginnings of the way worship began. The first logical train of thought which comes to my mind is from the classical evolutionist school of thought, and therefore James Fraser, therefore Golden Bow. What after that? Because that is a very celebrated work on religion. What was his take on religion? Yeah. Yes. Okay, now go 1 point. Yes, functionalist approach. Just go 1 point ahead and try to differentiate Malinowski's view on religion and Radcliffe Brown's view on religion. Can you differentiate? Yes. Yes, as a means of social control, so to speak. See, Malinowski, try to interrelate it with the foundational paradigms which were given by the scholars. Malinowski is famous for theory of needs. Theory of needs, that means his whole argument is rested in the psychological approach of human beings. So therefore, religion for me is a psychological satisfaction or an emotional need fulfiller. Whereas for Radcliffe Brown, what is the most famous theory he gave? Theory of social structure. So therefore, he will look at religion from that angle, that what purpose is religion serving in maintaining or controlling the social structure. That is why I use the term maintaining social control as a method. You know, भगवान के नाम से डरो, डराया जाता है. Why? Because it is a method of social control in our societies. So this is how you will form chain of thoughts in your exam. If they are asking us about the relevance of religion, this is how we'll go about it, right? So we have to build perspectives, and this will not come suddenly. It can come suddenly if this exam is like a static exam, जहाँ आप chapters पढ़ के गए, as it is आपने लिख दिया. But if I have to build answers, if I have to contribute perspectives from different spheres, I have to practice writing. चाहे वो आप घर पे करो, PYQs की writing करो, चाहे वो टेस्ट सीरीज लो या आप बाहर से लेके करो, एनी हाउ, okay, irrespective of the fact whether you buy it or not, please do it. Okay, whether you get it from anywhere, please do it, right? So that way you will learn to build answers. These are certain examples which you can incorporate. So one was Mauritiana. Another example, it is more specifically a part of paper 2, but I assume you must know this. Do we know of this tribe? Yes. Why were they in news? Yes? What is the meaning of haki pikki? Bird catchers. What is their profession? Abhi naam se pata chal gaya, bird catchers. But now, can you practice bird catching as a profession? Can you catch a bird and kill it? What will happen to you under WPA? Right? So therefore, alternate means of livelihood became a necessity, not an option. So they started exploring what can we do as a means of profession by using things around us in the forest itself. So they started making herbal oils, soaps. So their oil became so popular and was so much high in demand in Sudan, in South Sudan. So they moved there to sell it. And the reason they gave was the amount of capital they were investing to procure the raw materials. If it was around 1 lakh, the earnings from selling the herbal oil were twice more than the capital invested. So that acted as a luring factor for those people to move there itself. Now, that is a different story. You must have studied in IR. Sudan is caught in a conflict and therefore those people have to be rescued back, right? But this example can be used in alternative forms of employment, where we always cite this issue with tribal people, no? That you are asking people to move away from slash and burn agriculture. You are asking them to diversify. Todas, why are you stuck in dairy farming? Move to other forms of occupation. You always tell these things to the tribes, no? That please find alternative, because they are not able to sustain their lives. So this is an example. Haki Pikki, they found an alternative. And these things are all around us, okay? These are all direct headlines, smaller headlines, obviously perhaps not from the first page, but yes, they were a part of the newspaper discussions, which are going to form your case studies. Okay, case studies is nothing different. So for the static part, we can fall back on these most detailed topper notes. There is a lot of information overload, so you can pick selective references. अगर आप 2 एग्जाम्पल याद कर सकते हो, 2 उठाओ, 2 आप अपने लिख दो, 2 नए लिख दो. ओके, अगर उसमें 10 लिखे हैं, 10 के 10 कॉपी मत करना, right? So what works for you, you know it best, right? So these are the sources you can fall back upon. For archaeology, if there are certain blind spots in certain topics, for example, we have this preconceived notion that in archaeology we have to study dating methods, and we only have to study Paleo, Meso, Neo, Chalco, Indus Valley civilization, etc. But to add perspective, if you look at the way PYQs have been modeled, there have been questions or short notes on Olduvai Gorge separately also. So there I have to constructively search my brain and put all the information related to Olduvai Gorge in one place, right? So that will take time if I'm finding that question for the first time in the exam. But if I have done a practice beforehand and I have a ready-made template, it becomes 100 times easy. Because now you will do the homework, no? Where is Olduvai Gorge? What were the significant findings from there? Who were the Leakey family who were responsible for popularizing the remains which they found from Olduvai Gorge and took it to an international level? So all these, along with the fossil remains, will be interlinked. And if you have time, you can draw a map showing out of Africa hypothesis, where you can pointedly show evidences of Homo erectus and how they spread it across Europe or to the western sides and how many million years ago. This is a brief depiction. So if we practice writing like this beforehand, your answers, they'll reach up to the mark. So for topics like these, for Olduvai Gorge, for Natufian culture, there are certain offbeat topics here. Actually, Natufian culture was a aberration. I would use the term aberration because it is in between Paleo and Meso. So they are called as epi-Paleolithic cultures, and they were predominantly named only after a strip of land in Middle East. So therefore, that was an aberration. Do not get scared that Natufian culture पूछ लिया out of syllabus. So that was a new thing for everybody. It was not especially for you. So we'll try to excel in areas which we know are mark yielding. What are those areas? Anthropological theories, biological anthropology, and fossils. Direct questions. What are the features of Homo erectus? What is out of Africa hypothesis? What is the relevance of diffusionist school of thought today? Now, these are questions which are from very celebrated static topics. Comfortably, you can find them in the syllabus, right? But they can also be given a certain degree of a dynamic edge. So when you start your preparation, please make sure that you do not skip anything from these three portions, because these are the greatest mark yielders. And for the gray spots where you have difficulty in archaeology, you can go back to EPG Pathshala. Okay, you will find videos of DK Bhattacharya sir there. You can put it on 2x. Otherwise, below there will be a link of a PDF. You can just skim through the PDF, and if you can get more conceptual clarity. Similar approach can be taken for biological anthropology, specifically for applied topics where you find certain issues. For example, genetic engineering, three-parent baby, mitochondrial DNA analysis. Okay, these are certain applied topics where you will get a understanding by watching a video perhaps, not by reading. So if there's a mental blockade, cure it. But make sure you don't leave that part, because these are those questions which will give you a significant edge if they are written beautifully. EPG. EPG. हाँ जी, बायोलॉजिकल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, हाँ जी. नहीं, उसके लिए मैंने आपको नारायण अमित का नोट्स बोला है. उसके अलावा पी नाथ का सेलेक्टिव रेफरेंस कर सकते हो. Selective reference, please. Ember and Ember also selective reference. Okay, and if you do not want to waste time with Ember and Ember also, नारायण अमित का एक compilation है जिसमें सिर्फ Ember Ember के box का word है. Boxes जिसमें case studies होती हैं, तो आप वहाँ से भी pick कर सकते हो. Right? You can rely on these two things. Apart from that, एक और source है for current affair value addition, down to earth. ये मैगजीन अदरवाइज भी आप लोग रेफर कर रहे होगे. आई एज्यूम सेलेक्टिव, नॉट एवरी आर्टिकल, बिकॉज there's a lot of, you will feel that you are doing grave injustice to the planet earth by just being born as a human being अगर हम सारे article इनके पढ़े. But then there can be specific case studies on water scarcity, tribal health issues, है ना. सो सेलेक्टिव रेफरेंस की 10-15 दिन में एक बार इनका पेज आप स्कैन सा कर लो, दैट इफ देयर इज अ न्यू टॉपिक विच कैन रेजोनेट विथ योर स्टडी. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, नोबेल प्राइज, थोड़ी जो चीज़ें आउटराइटली हमारे सामने हैं, निएंडरथल एंड होमोसेपियन डिबेट, डेनिसोवा, mitochondrial DNA analysis, these are things which are right in front of you, okay, which we shouldn't leave at any cost. Okay, because on Neanderthal there's always a gray area. They asked 1 year difference between classic and modern. Is that difference justified? The next probable question, what was the probable dichotomy or issues between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals? It's believed that we killed them. There are also examples or evidences of mating. So there are a certain gray areas which you can rectify if you specifically prepare a one-page note on this. The idea is whatever gray areas are there, make sure you have a write-up. एक छोटा write-up उस पे हो जिसको आप elaborate करके 10 से लेके 20 मार्कर जिस फॉर्म में भी वो पूछ रहा है, you should be able to write it. And do not ignore one more angle, inclusion of flowcharts. Initially, what do we believe? That flowcharts should be used only in classic areas where we believe that yahan flowchart aa sakta hai. If I talk about anthropological theory of needs, so I can easily use this diagram. Okay, if I talk about diffusionism as a school of thought, and I am differentiating the American, British, and German school. Okay, so pan-Egyptian model. This is Egypt. This is Laos, Cambodia. Okay, this is the Stonehenge in England. Okay, this is India. Why? Sun worship as an idea. So what is this? Pan-Egyptian school of thought. See, वैसे पढ़ोगे, it's not necessary that you put this perspective in. It's just a simple depiction where you can give a comparative analysis of all the three schools in one lens. Similarly, here I can draw culture Kreis, the idea of culture circle, na? German school of thought. Age area principle, arrow दिखा के यहाँ पे लिख दिया. Age area principle next में आएगा, American school of thought. So आप उसमें elaborate कर सकते हो. Simultaneously, just write the name of the scholars over here. Okay, right now here, American है तो Whistler और Kreber. So this will save you time. Otherwise, what people do, they start classification, they start writing names of the scholars, their books. Books से important उनका work है ना? और work से भी important, that idea which permeated, which is responsible for the entire school of thought and is sustaining that idea, that is more important. So you can use these kind of approaches, put it in a box. So nobody will tell us that, okay, draw a flowchart for anthropological theories. But ये flowchart है भी नहीं. ये है क्या? Whatever I have in my mind, I am depicting it. Just that, nothing else. So ये सब आप mindfully practice करो while writing your answers. क्योंकि time तो उतना ही है सबके पास. But अगर मैं अपना content जो भी मुझे पता है उसको mindfully present करना चाह रही हूँ और उसको मैं flowchart उसी time exam से पहले test series में practice कर लें और फिर एग्जाम में आप अपने ही टेस्ट को रिवाइज करो, किसी और के नोट्स ना पढ़ के अपने टेस्ट को रिवाइज करके जाओ. दैट इज द आइडिया. सो यू कैन ब्रिंग दीज काइंड ऑफ इनसाइट्स इवन इन द सो कॉल्ड स्टैटिक टॉपिक्स. एंड प्लीज डोंट गेट बॉग डाउन विथ फिजिकल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी. अभी भी बहुत स्टूडेंट्स आ रहे हैं, मेरा बैकग्राउंड बायो नहीं है. क्यों नीडेड है बायो? आपका बैकग्राउंड ह्यूमैनिटीज है तो आप यूपीएससी कर रहे हो, आप सारे ही सब्जेक्ट याद करने वाले ही पढ़ रहे हो ऑलरेडी, एंड देन पीपल फील एंथ्रोपोलॉजी हैज टू मच क्रैमिंग. सो फिजिकल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट स्कोरिंग टॉपिक्स. डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस. Firstly, conceptual questions. Most of the students leave cell division, transcription, translation. 9 time hai to it is fine. Debatable topic because there has not been a question from that area. But if you talk about applied topics like DNA fingerprinting, repeating year after year. Similarly, chromosomal aberrations, name of certain syndrome, cry to chat down, autosomal. So ये terms की clarity अगर होगी, application of Mendel's laws of inheritance in human beings. This is a PYQ. So we might feel that they don't ask Mendel's law of inheritance directly, but they were using it in an applicable format. क्योंकि हमेशा आपको एक ही example याद आएगा, pea plant. But they are asking you the applicability in Homo sapiens. थोड़ा सा आपका mind खुलेगा उससे. That is the purpose of writing tests. So writing test is like a mock drill. You do all these test match wala scenario in your tests here, and then you play your best match in the exam. That is the whole idea. So do not skip biological anthropology at any cost. If you don't have the notes, go through Narayan Amit sir. बहुत अच्छे, बहुत detailed notes हैं. Okay, if you are able to learn, they are very good. Predominantly with fossil related questions, Homo erectus, yeah, Australopithecines, anything. Practice those freehand diagrams. सिर्फ skull specifically. वहाँ पे chimpanzee बना के quadrupedalism depict नहीं करना है हमें. Time बहुत लगेगा, right? So only the highlights. if there's a difference question, Australopithecines versus Homo erectus differences, immediately draw a line and give a comparative analysis. So that way it will save time and your diagrammatic representation will also become beautiful. And point के बाद point लिखोगे तो याद भी आता जाएगा. Paragraph form, specifically physical anthropology, please have a point approach. Do not have a point approach, too much point approach in socio-cultural part. Have a introduction, ready-made conclusion. In the skeleton, do whatever you want. A flowchart, a small description, a small table, everything will work. But intro and conclusion should look like you're talking about a theme, a scholar, a perspective, not like you're listing down points, right? So not overly point approach, not overly paragraph approach, a bit of simulation. In physical anthropology, in archaeology, point is fine because it's about memorizing things and vomiting them. But in case of socio-cultural, universality of marriage है, उसमें point wise नहीं लिखेंगे ना, उसमें आप perspectives present करोगे, right? So do not skip anthropological theories. Even if it is a 20 marker, we should be able to write a very good answer. So first thing you do, make your own model answer for each theory. गिनी हुई theories लिखी हुई हैं. They have even written the name of the scholars in the bracket. Otherwise, if you take up standard texts, you will see there are a lot more scholars. वो सब हमारे syllabus में लिखे भी नहीं हुए हैं. But अगर आप उनमें से एक दो का point of view याद कर लो, तो आपको value add है वो. Okay, it will fetch you marks. I am not saying memorize the name of the books, name of the scholar and their concept. Right? Bischoff and MacLennan, see, they are not exclusively written down in the syllabus, but they can be used to gain more perspectives. हाँ जी, ऐसे तो जेन गुडॉल भी पूछा है, ऐसे तो लिमिट नहीं है, but the idea is whatever is doable, that should be a low hanging fruit. जो भी achievable है, उसमें हमारा mark lose नहीं होने चाहिए. That is which bouncer, sir? Anthropology से दुश्मनी थोड़ी है उनको. They do not have special animosity with this subject. So see, the idea is आप अपने friends होंगे दूसरे optional से, आप उनसे पूछ के देखो कि क्या आपके subject में कोई out of syllabus question आ रहा है. It's like a normative thing now. It is UPSC. Prelims देख लो कैसा हुआ है, CSAT देख लो. So again I am reiterating this. Whatever is doable. हम नतूफियन कल्चर को इतना हाईलाइट क्यों कर रहे हैं जब वहाँ डीएनए फिंगरप्रिंटिंग और क्रोमोसोमल एबेरेशन आए ही जा रहा है बार बार. हम ऐसे क्यों नतूफियन कल्चर को पिन पॉइंट कर रहे हैं? एंड इफ दे आस्क इन 20 markers, provided you know the next question, you have the, if you have covered ना. So as I told you, that is for everybody. वो आपके लिए special उन्होंने design ऐसे नहीं किया कि आपके साथ ही कर रहे हैं. It's a normal thing and it happens. And more probably I would say there's competition in anthropology also to selectively to mindfully select candidates. एक normal चीज भी है. 1100 लोगों ने इस साल लिखा है, तो कोई तो मेथड रहेगा ना आपको फिल्टर आउट करने का, राइट? और आपको क्या लगता है कितने लोगों को नतूफियन कल्चर आता था? सो दैट इज जस्ट अ टर्म, वो अलग चैप्टर भी नहीं है. आप अगर आप उपिंदर सिंह भी देख लोगे, इट्स वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट बुक्स विच वी हैव फॉर हिस्ट्री. देयर ऑल्सो इट्स जस्ट गिवन अ पासिंग मेंशन. यस, बट हाउ मच? द डिग्री 10 मार्कर जितना, या आपका स्पेशल उस पर ध्यान जाएगा? एम्बर एम्बर कितनी मोटी है, उसमें सारा टर्म्स आपको पता है? नहीं पता ना. सो दैट इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू हियर. जो डूएबल है उसको हम उतना अच्छे से कर लें कि उसमें मार्क्स लूज ना हो, या उसमें हम कंपैरेटिवली बेटर करें विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द रेस्ट ऑफ द पीपल. इफ बोथ ऑफ अस आर राइटिंग द सेम एग्जाम्पल इन अ क्वेश्चन ऑन डिफ्यूजन, अब डिफ्यूजन तो सबको पता है ना. अगर मैं एक नया पॉइंट ऐड कर दूं अपने आंसर में, कंटेम्पररी रेलेवेंस ऑफ डिफ्यूजनिज्म, suddenly I'll get 2 marks more than you, because I'll highlight how diffusionism as a theory is relevant today. And if I add India's context, that becomes even more beautiful. So can you try to gather information? What is India's context from diffusionist theory perspective today? कोई example बताओ, culture area का, culture trait का, culture circle का, है कोई example ध्यान में? हाँ जी, KFC वाला आइडिया, ठीक है. Dandiya. Yes, we have Dandiya nights everywhere, right? What else? बनारस कुरुक्षेत्र कल्चर सेंटर्स, है ना? जो मेला होता है आपका कुंभ मेला, कल्चर सेंटर, right? Similarly, later on, as humanity has grown out of Brahmanization, out of Vedic era also, we have started embracing ancestor worship, tree worship. ये सारी चीजें होती है ना अभी भी. Along with Murti Puja, they are surviving. So these are diffusionist attributes which have survived the test of time. So this is something which we all know. But if we just add an example there, if it is a 20 marker, if you have time and if you have done the homework, if there is a framework, तो ये example गया उपाध्याय में दिया हुआ है clearly. Culture areas in India. At the end of the diffusionist discussion दिया हुआ है उसमें. Right? So we can polish our answers from those areas which are scoring rather than looking at aberrations. If you know the aberrations, great. But if you are scoring average in the most probable questions, that is an issue. So if you write better structuring of the answer, see, diffusionism as a 20 marker can have a lot of information and can take a lot of time of yours if you go one by one, German school, American school. And if I represent all these three here and if I write the information here below the diagram in bullet format, information cover ho gayi, diagram representation ho gaya. Intro or conclusion mein I have given a proper passing references to all the scholars and the ideology. Also highlighting what were the drawbacks of evolutionists which brought diffusionism at the center. वो सारी चीज इंट्रो और कंक्लूजन के लिए बचा के रखो. कंक्लूजन में कंटेम्प्रेरी रेलेवेंस ऐड कर दो, दैट्स सी दिस इज रेलेवेंट इवन टुडे, राइट? सो वर्क ऑन व्हाट इज apparently in front of you and what is more doable. That is the idea here. For those unconventional questions, if you can go the extra mile, please go. Okay, but for a prudent strategy, एम्बर के boxes जहाँ से आप एग्जाम्पल एक्सट्रैक्ट करके अपने आंसर में जुडिशियली यूज कर सकते हो, वो एक प्रूडेंट स्ट्रेटेजी है, कीपिंग इन माइंड द नीड ऑफ दिस एग्जाम. दिस एग्जाम इज अनप्रिडिक्टेबल, so let us try to approach whatever is approachable. This is the idea. I hope it is clear. EPG पाठशाला आप सबके लिए भी रेफर कर सकते हो. It's not that it's नारायण अमित सर, पीनाथ. आपको मेंस लिखना है इस साल, तो फिर आप यू स्टिक टू नारायण अमित. जितने सोर्सेस, अगेन कंटेंट ओवरलोड करोगे, याद कब करोगे, फिर उसको प्रैक्टिस कब करोगे, फिर एग्जाम में कब लिखोगे. सो जितना मैं लिमिटेड और क्रिस्प याद करूंगी उतना ही तो मैं अच्छा आंसर लिखूंगी ना. कंटेंट ओवरलोड नहीं करना है हमें यहाँ, राइट? ओके, एनी क्वेरीज अप टिल दिस पॉइंट? एनी क्वेरीज? नो? शैल वी डिस्कस अ PYQ? पूछना है कुछ? बताओ. डिस्कशन और वैल्यू एडेड क्लास रिकॉर्ड की हुई है, मैंने की हुई है, वो आपको पोर्टल पे एक्सेस मिलेगा उसका. हाँ, सबको पता है वो तो, कहाँ से पढ़ना है लिखा हुआ होता है. आप पूछ भी सकते हो, मेंटरशिप सेशंस भी होते हैं. हाँ जी, मैं ही लेती हूँ, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी का मैं ही लेती हूँ. और कोई क्वेरी सब्जेक्ट रिलेटेड? नहीं? Yes, yes. What are you asking? Culture area is similar to sacred complex. Yes, yes, yes. He was highlighting a particular sacred complex and he investigated the reasons कि ये area क्यों sacred है, आज तक sacred है ना? Survived the test of time. He was studying it from that perspective. We are studying it from the perspective that if diffusionism as a school of thought exists, is it valid to India? डिफ्यूजनिज्म में क्या टर्म्स हमने पढ़े थे? कल्चर एरिया, कल्चर सर्कल, कल्चर कॉम्प्लेक्स. सो मेरा आइडिया है कि अगर मैं इन टर्म्स का एग्जाम्पल इंडिया के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से दे पाऊं तो मेरा आंसर बहुत अच्छा हो जाता है. दैट इज द आइडिया. यस. Cultural survivals जो evolutionists ने दिए थे, they were talking about certain specific practices, certain specific traits which have survived. These are areas of reverence जो बीच बीच में हो सकता है वर्शिप ना भी हुए हों, जैसे आर्यन सिविलाइजेशन, आर्यन डोमिनेशन हुआ नॉर्दर्न इंडिया का. So they were not appreciating the fact that we stick to the older forms of worship. So एक बारी में सब तहस नहस भी हो गया होगा, but eventually it came back. The idea is that Aryans adopted tree worship animism at a later point in time, not when the invasion happened. That is the meaning of test of time. Cultural survival का मतलब है आप आज तक उस practice को अपने साथ ही लेके चल रहे हो, okay? चाहे कितने भी generations आगे क्यों ना बढ़ गए हो. That is continuously a part of you. That is what, yes. That is what cultural survival means. Okay? Yes, that example is related to sacred complex. हमने वहीं से उठाया, पर वो है ना culture area है, वो culture complex भी है. गया का example अगर आप लोगे और बनारस का लोगे, बिल्कुल है. तो वो example आप compartments में मत रखो. जो example आपको जहाँ relevant लगता है, उसको उठा के use करो. GS के भी अगर relevant example यहाँ लग रहे हैं, उनको use करो. Right? NCRB का data, okay, crime against women, children, ये सारी चीजें तो normal, common है. तो आप कहीं भी यूज कर सकते हो. कंपार्टमेंटलाइज मत करना प्रिपरेशन. ओके, एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? आपको इवैल्यूएट होके रेड पेन से लिख के मिलेगा कि क्या गलती की है, क्या सुधारना है, कितने नंबर हैं, एवरीथिंग. और लास्ट में आपको रिकमेंडेशन भी मिलेगी कि अगले टेस्ट में ये करना चाहिए आपको. वो आपका ऊपर डिपेंड करता है कि आप उसको फॉलो करोगे या नहीं. हाँ जी, डिस्कस कर सकते हैं, मेंटरशिप सेशंस में डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. ओके, shall we discuss a PYQ if you don't have any questions? Okay, please tell me if I ask you about the definitions of marriage, can you quote the scholars or exactly the train of thought? The question is on the universality of marriage. Matlab, the concept of marriage as it was given by the socio-cultural anthropologist, is it universal or not? ये हमें debate करना है. Okay, it is a debatable topic. Understood the question? Now try to frame an answer. कि आप इसका आंसर कैसे frame करोगे? What will be your approach? What will be the skeleton? What will be your examples? You want 5 minutes to frame it? Then we'll write the answer together. Fine? Please frame your answer. It is a 10 marker. So you will get ideally 7 minutes मिलती हैं. I am giving 5. Universality of marriage पे आपको शॉर्ट नोट लिखना है कि जो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ मैरिज एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में है, इज इट यूनिवर्सली वैलिड? ओके, Okay. So, what is your idea? What will be the introduction? Whoever wants to answer one by one, please. Yes. नहीं, सेंटेंस बताओ. आंसर फ्रेम कर रहे हैं हम. आपने जो लिखा है इंट्रोडक्शन और क्रिस्प होना चाहिए, 2 मैक्सिमम 3 लाइंस, तो पैराग्राफ नहीं चलेगा. तो आप मुझे अपना आइडिया बताओ, आपके लिए व्हाट इज द इंट्रोडक्शन फॉर दिस आंसर. डेफिनेशन याद नहीं है तो मैंने आपको बोला था ना, अगर हमें कोई डेफिनेशन याद नहीं है, योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ मैरिज, you can write your definition depending on the text you have read. मतलब absurd definition नहीं होनी चाहिए, in line होनी चाहिए, but it's all right अगर आपको scholar का नाम याद नहीं है ना. तो क्या लिखा है आपने? नहीं. हाँ. He talked about union between man and a woman. हाँ. Cohabitation. That is the second. हाँ, second. ठीक है. आप इंट्रोडक्शन में यही सब करोगे, 5 डेफिनेशंस आप लिख दोगे. हाँ, क्योंकि हमें डिबेट करना है यूनिवर्सैलिटी ऑफ मैरिज. ओके, 1 आइडिया. सेकंड आइडिया एनीवन? हम्म. हम्म. ठीक है. एंड द फॉलोइंग आर द मेंशंस. Okay, and then you will highlight the problems. Okay. Against them. Fine. Hmm. 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 Okay. Understood. Understood. Any other approach? Hmm. 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 Inheritance rights to the progeny. Good. Yes. वही उसी पे आएंगे. जो सेम सेक्स मैरिज का इशू है वो लास्ट में पासिंग रेफरेंस में जरूर आएगा. इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जो टर्म आपने यूज की है, 2 persons, so that is something you can underline, and you can just write this in the conclusion part, that the definition could be this: 2 persons or 2 consenting adults, because you're putting into perspective same sex marriage idea also. Okay, but again we wouldn't be able to cover polyandry and polygamy in this definition. So इसीलिए जो जो थिंकिंग है वो पहले हो जानी चाहिए, ताकि हम आंसर में एक रेडीमेड प्रोटोटाइप लिखें. By the way, your introduction was fine because you directly did not jump that this was the definition which was given, or Westermark was the person, or Notes and Query was the first legitimate definition for marriage. Rather than that, marriage is a social institution almost universally found and studied extensively by anthropologists across space and time. However, there were different contrasting opinions, and you can substantiate those opinions by writing about these definitions if you can remember. I told you 5 स्कॉलर लिखना जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि इस क्वेश्चन का टाइप ही ऐसा था कि हमें डिबेट करना है कि मैरिज यूनिवर्सल है कि नहीं. तो उसको substantiate करने के लिए I have to write scholars if I can. Otherwise, you can go with 3 scholars also. Okay, I would say that. But this question is of that type जिसमें demand आ गई है scholar को quote करने की. After writing the introduction, you can give a context where you can just give that representation. What was the need of marriage? This is out of context, I'm telling you. That is why it is in red. Okay, ये पूछा नहीं है तो हम नहीं लिखेंगे. But if a question on marriage is a 20 marker, so we will include that. What was the need of marriage? To provide legitimate progeny, inheritance, property rights for having progeny, to regulate the sexual social control in the society, because we were progressing from being promiscuous to group marriages to polygamy, and then finally we settled on monogamy. So therefore, there was an anarchy in these phases, if you see. Okay, because in promiscuity, probably human beings were living like animals. Therefore, a certain degree of social control was needed. Therefore, this is evolution of marriage as an institution. These two things will be included in that question, not in this question. Coming to this question, the introduction, as I told you, we'll go with that. That marriage is an almost universal social institution, deeply and extensively studied by socio-cultural anthropologists like whatever you can remember, Malinowski, Westermark, Kathleen Go, etc. However, there are contrasting opinions on the very existence of marriage because it is a subjective reality which is different in different societies. These are the following observations. The most acceptable definition, if you ask me today, is the Notes and Queries definition, which was given in 51, that marriage is a union between a man and a woman. And what is the reason for that union? To have a legitimate child who has a social place in the society and has inheritance right. So ideally, jo perspective marriage ka, it all boils down to having a child. This is what this definition says. Yes, because I'm talking about the definition given by them. हमें ना इसमें एक और चीज करना आप, detach yourself with the answer. In the perspective, I have to debate the universality of marriage keeping in mind the opinion of these people. अभी अगर मेरे से कोई पूछे according to you is the definition of marriage correct, this I will take it very personal. I'll say no. Why man and woman? No, उसको पहले 2 person करो. Yes, yes. Yes, the alliance theory में जो central aspect ही वो था. Right, you are right, you are fine. But did they give a proper definition of marriage? Acclaimed definition, which was considered right by the anthropology fraternity. जिसको सबसे ज़्यादा acceptance मिली, वही publish होती है ना? जिसको सबसे ज़्यादा agreement मिला. Right? So that way we are debating the universality. वो idea बिल्कुल सही है, वो अपनी जगह है. If the question is asking us about Levi-Strauss, we write it. It's one of the most important topics. Okay? So just for your knowledge, I'm telling you, this is the most accepted definition today. जो सारा debate हुआ scholars के बीच में, इस पे वो mostly agree कर गए. That is the idea. Murdoch, what was the issue here? He said union between a man and a woman plus cohabitation plus economic dependency, legitimate offspring, and creation of a nuclear family. So nuclear family norm doesn't fit in most societies. It is not necessary that you are cohabited. Most of the time, there are cases where people are living separately for their jobs also. So from that angle, it was excluded. Westermark's idea was again similar: union, cohabitation, mutual sexual rights, plus recognized children. Again, this issue of cohabitation was there. Malinowski talks about, as we told, we were discussing Malinowski earlier, he will always talk about the functionalistic perspective, function of marriage, to give social legitimacy to the child. क्योंकि उसको society में रहना है. Right? So he is limiting his definition that to the husband, to the child, to the woman, everybody has their rightful place from the perspective of the society. ऐसे ही तो क्वेश्चंस बन रहे हैं ना, स्टेटस ऑफ लिव इन रिलेशनशिप इन इंडियन सोसाइटी, क्योंकि सोसाइटी उसको डिफरेंटली देखती है. सो दिस डेफिनेशन इज फ्रॉम सोसाइटल एंगल. Kathleen Go, why I have added her specifically? Because of her study on Nayars. क्योंकि नायर एक ऐसा पेक्यूलियर केस था. मेट्रियार्कल तो ठीक है, पॉलीएंड्री भी ठीक है, where one woman was having relationships with multiple people. However, the difference here was the child born out of that relationship was in the matrilineal descent, जो traditional definitions से बिल्कुल excluded था. So that is why if you add Kathleen Go to your answer will stand out. It's a different definition. Westermark Murdoch still sounds similar because most of their clauses were similar, right? So we'll write this if you remember these many, otherwise 3 will also do. After that, we'll discuss what are the problems related to these definitions. One of the most common problem which we have encountered in almost all definitions is they are centered around one man, one woman. One man, one woman. So firstly, homosexuality 0 हो गई यहाँ पे, and polyandry, polygyny, polygamy सब 0 हो गई, right? So that is something which is very much obvious. First 2 points covered. After that, separate cohabitation is also possible. It is not necessary that always you will live together and be in a marriage. Now, these are certain examples. Nayars we already have discussed. What is the peculiar case here? That the child is going into the matrilineal pattern, growing up without a father figure predominantly, and under the decision authority, so to speak, of the mother's brother, mama. So this is a peculiar example here. Noyers of Sudan and Azande. Now, if I talk about these 2 examples, in Azande, it's considered to be one of the earliest examples of homosexual marriages, but the reason was different. They were believers in the one man, one woman concept only, but because of scarcity of women, first point, and second, because marriages were becoming costly. Costly matlab aapko bride price dena padega. So scarcity of women is there, and the available lot of women has been taken up by the rich people. So there's a certain section of men who don't have the potential wives in the market. So वो क्या करते हैं? They take a boy wife. A boy wife in the age 12 to 20 who will fulfill all the wifely duties for the man. So that is how that homosexuality angle came in. However, the idea of the framework was related to the normal heteronormative norm only, right? So in Noyers, there is a specific ritual where a childless couple, so to speak, or anybody who wants to have a child can purchase a child from another couple by paying a fee. तो अभी ये adoption भी नहीं है, थोड़ा different case. Again, it was not accommodated in any example, in any definition, right? Azande, Nayars, ghost marriages. So these are exceptions to the definitions. Same-sex marriage, obviously, itna news mein hai, so we will add it and we'll also add context to it. This will be the framework 10 marker tha. In fact, if it was a 15 marker, you could have elaborated on all these. But since it is a 10 marker, space कम होगा. So definitions को थोड़ा space देके हम problems को ऐसे highlight कर सकते हैं. या जो आपका approach था, along with the definition, highlight the example. That this example is not validated by this definition, therefore it is untrue. That is also fine. Clear? This is how we'll approach a kind of a mixed topic था ये, static plus dynamic, where examples were also needed. Right? So for putting things into perspective, अगर मैं PYQ practice करके या test में इसको लिख चुकी हूँ, तो मुझे अपना ही answer sheet revise करके exam में लिखना is much better than framing the answer for the first time in the exam hall. This is the idea test series का. अब वो कोई भी test series हो चाहे, right? Now, since we are talking about this topic, let us discuss associated issue, same-sex marriage. This is not a PYQ. I want your perspectives on this. That's it. And it is a very probable question anyways. किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में मेंस में आएगा तो आपको फायदा ही है डिस्कशन से. Yes? हाँ जी. Ghost marriages अफ्रीका में होती हैं. Okay, where people do not find a mate, they tend to marry ghosts. Ritualist, जो witchcraft का part है ये. Social father, हाँ, लिख सकते हो. But वैसे, just telling out of this, ऐसे तो हम राखी ब्रदर्स और मतलब we have contemporary forms of these things also. We are talking about definition of marriage. Okay. Yes. Marriage. Yes. They are fed that yes, you have a social father. Yes, yes. Yes. Yes, we can do that. You can write it as another example, yet another case study. वो तो आप कोई भी लिख सकते हो. ऐसे तो इसमें आप सोलोगैमी भी ऐड करो, है ना? Not included. Not included, it will not be validated also. Yes, you can write it. अब सब कुछ रेडी हो गया, कंक्लूजन तो आप लिख लोगे ना? कंक्लूजन में आपको वही लिखना है, डिस्पाइट डिफरेंट सब्जेक्टिव पैराडाइम्स, नोट्स एंड क्वारीज डेफिनेशन इज द मोस्ट एक्सेप्टेड. हाउएवर, in 30 countries already same-sex marriages have been legalized. The world is dynamic, it is changing. Therefore, we should be open to perspectives about marriage. Forward-looking conclusion लिखना है. Because always remember, the scholars are a product of their times. उन्होंने जो देखा उन्होंने वो लिखा. अब हम उनको जज क्यों कर रहे हैं कि आपने 1950 में ऐसा क्यों लिखा? So you can't hold grudges. So obviously तब टाइम कुछ और था, अब कुछ हो रहा है, आगे कुछ और होगा. सो अ पॉजिटिव कंक्लूजन, वी शुड बी ओपन अबाउट दिस. एग्जाम्पल में सेम सेक्स मैरिजेस का लीगलाइजेशन लिख सकते हो क्योंकि वो न्यूज में है, तो आपको ऐसे पता हो कि 30 कंट्रीज में अलाउड है और 50 कंट्रीज में अडॉप्शन अलाउड है एज अ सिंगल पेरेंट. सो व्हाई नॉट इंडिया? ओके, डन. नाउ टेल मी सम पॉइंट्स अबाउट दिस, प्रोज एंड कॉन्स. Yes, same sex marriages, there has been a litigation, right? Most of you must have also seen the hearings. However, the court has reserved its verdict. What is your take on this? Both side of the arguments, what do you think? Just an idea, not an answer. We are trying to make a framework here. Framework banate hain. A topic important hai, both anthropologically bhi aur GS point of view se bhi. So tell me 4 points at least. So when I'm talking about pros, you can also understand it to be the views or arguments of LGBTQ people, their lawyers, their activists. This can also be considered to be government stand. It will make more clear to you. Let's start the discussion. Since this is a PIL, so obviously stakeholders ने अपना argument पहले present किया. What were the arguments which they presented? What is the reason for validating same-sex marriages in the country? क्यों validate होनी चाहिए? या उसका backdrop क्या है? Backdrop anybody? Homosexuality से related कोई judgment, कुछ आपको याद हो? नवतेज जोहर? Okay, ठीक है. और very good. Very good. This is the most recent one. Right to privacy to transgender persons. Not in the context. Not in this context. Case is fine. ये backdrop है ना? Nalsa judgment. Okay. Now, pros, the idea propounded by the LGBTQ community, why we need marriage. Because 377 is decriminalized. That means you can have a partner who is belonging to the same sex as you, and you can have relations also. But why marriage? Marriage is taking the argument to the next level. So therefore, there must be certain rights, certain issues which you can validate, which you can enjoy as a person only when you are married. राइट, दैट इज द पैराडाइम. अब हम जीरो डाउन करेंगे वाई मैरिज, उस पे आ जाओ बस अब. ओके, वाई, व्हाट आर द सपोर्टिंग आर्ग्यूमेंट्स? Which rights? हाँ. Okay, for example, when you're writing a health insurance, when you are talking about assigning nominees to your policy, है ना? Joint account. Okay, these rights. Basically, group of civil rights, basic rights which each one of us needs. Okay, insurance and joint accounts. Right, these rights. Okay, what else? Right to marry out of your choice. Fundamental right. And since you have also given right to privacy for them, so therefore anyhow interlinkages are there. What else? Separate angle, progeny related सोचो थोड़ा. Respect the diversity. हाँ, तो ठीक है. Progeny specific मैंने पूछा था वैसे. Adoption के बारे में आपको कुछ पता है? If a single father wants to adopt a girl child, according to the Juvenile Justice Act, it's not allowed. So when one man cannot adopt a girl, can two men who are in relationship with each other, will they be allowed by the court to adopt a girl? So if I have to be a parent with my partner, I'm talking from the man's reference here, things won't work out, right? So for adoption rights, what else? That is what they are fighting for. No? Two men को पहले marry करने दो, है ना? फिर ही तो adopt करेंगे बेचारे. वही तो fight कर रहे हैं. A couple can adopt, but one single father, जैसे आप separate हो गए तो आप adopt नहीं कर सकते लड़की को. That is the idea. Yes, yes, she can. Patriarchy. बस इतना न्यूज में आया एक महीना. हाँ जी, नो अदर पॉइंट. हाँ जी, पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल होगा. गुड पॉइंट, गुड पॉइंट. पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल होगी. ठीक है, these are the arguments for the pros. Okay, come to the cons. You have more points here. Tell. सब मोदी जी फैंस है ना. Come on, we don't have time. I already codified laws मतलब example Special Marriage Act. India is a country with such diversity. We do not have a UCC yet. Therefore, there are different laws for different religion for marriage related purpose. Personal laws बोलते हैं इनको. Special Marriage Act में actually एक enabling provision है for same sex marriages because it uses the term two persons rather than using the term man and woman. तो उसको भी petitioners ने use किया है कि सर आप already two person use कर चुके हो तो उसमें तो आपको amend करने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. But nevertheless, there are a lot of personal laws which will get impacted. And specifically for the other communities, without having them as stakeholders, we cannot change their personal laws. No, about Muslims already there's a atmosphere of communalism in the country. उनके laws छेड़ दिए तो आप फिर, right? The communal fabric will get disturbed. Okay, first point is about laws. There's immense changing that will be required. So therefore, the argument given was, let us leave this to the parliament because here we have the elected representatives from every walk of life, whereas the petitioners are termed as urban elitists. Solicitor General ने ये term use किया था. Your opinion is a urban elitist opinion and people from rural folks, they don't want this. Therefore, you are a microcosm. You don't represent the entire country. So leave it for the parliament. Parliament में फिर क्या होगा? Bill propose होगा, उस पे committee बैठेगी, stakeholders address होंगे, different religion representatives will be concerned. Therefore, let us follow the due process of law. That is the point which was given. Apart from that, social structure will get disturbed. If I use more apt term which was given by them, marriage is a sacred space against the laws of nature. है ना? These were ये terms use करनी है हमें answers में. अर्बन एलिटिस्ट, ये सब आप न्यूज़पेपर में से ही पिक की हुई है. रादर देन राइटिंग सिंपल टर्म्स सिंपल इंग्लिश में, लेट्स यूज व्हाट दे आर यूजिंग एट अ पॉइंट जहां तक आप याद कर सकते हो. नॉट एवरीथिंग, जितना कर सकते हो उतना यूज करो. ऐसे आर्ग्यूमेंट बाय आर्ग्यूमेंट याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है, राइट? अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट एक और इशू है पेरेंटिंग का. अगर आपने सोचा हो अबाउट दिस एंगल, if two women get married, they do not have a fatherly role. Okay, the kind of upbringing that child will have, will the child have a gender bias? These are certain sociological notions which are being questioned, that if a child is raised by two women and if a child is raised by two men, so where will you draw the line? What kind of gender theory will the child have? What kind of perspectives? Because you are from anthropology, you know enculturation day 1 से शुरू हो जाता है आपका. आप अपने पेरेंट्स से सब कुछ ही सीखते हो, राइट? दैट एंगल, पेरेंटिंग. व्हाट एल्स? प्रोजेनी क्यों नहीं होगा? अडॉप्ट कर लेंगे. प्रोजेनी के तो बहुत मेथड्स हैं. सरोगेसी है, अडॉप्शन है, आईवीएफ है. अभी एक ट्रांसजेंडर कपल को बच्चा हुआ है केरला में, केस स्टडी अभी हुआ है. आई थिंक दो वीक्स हुए होंगे. वो डिफरेंट टाइप क्या? प्लीज यूज द करेक्ट टर्म. वही पॉइंट मिसिंग है इस पूरे आर्ग्यूमेंट से. कंसेप्ट ऑलरेडी है. Under the garb of saying that it is my right to marry, you know, liberal perspectives. So it is a far-fetched argument though, but the government says today you're talking about same-sex marriages, tomorrow you will want relationships within the family and you will try to break incest laws. Tab aap kya karoge? Far-fetched opinion, but an opinion to write. Clear? Perspectives are clear? Now, way forward, yeah, conclusion. This is a critical analysis. In any question you do, this is the critical analysis, writing both sides of the coin and always giving a positivistic conclusion. What will we write in positivistic conclusion? The data which we were talking about, how many countries have legalized it? Yes, and how you cannot separate the fundamental right of a person from them. We have a limited life on this planet. Na? We are not tortoise, we are human beings. So by the time judiciary, legislature, we are fighting for laws, and ultimately you will achieve that paradigm where equality will be upheld. Okay, do not write a conservative conclusion isme. Broaden your horizons. कौन सा एग्जाम्पल? हाँ, हिस्टोरिकली जो कार्विंग्स हैं वहां पे एविडेंसेस हैं. यू आर राइट. है, बिल्कुल है. हाँ, राइट. हाँ जी, आप कुछ कह रहे थे? फिर रिजल्ट निकाला जाए. नहीं तो आप तो ब्यूरोक्रेट अगर बनना चाहते हो तो डिसीजन तो लेना पड़ेगा, चाहे कितनी भी एम्बिगुअस सिचुएशन हो. वही तो टेस्ट हो रहा है मेंस में. कंक्लूजन, वे फॉरवर्ड हम ऐसे नहीं कह सकते. लेट देम डिबेट एंड डिसाइड. we have to give a, let us include all the opinions of the stakeholders. हाँ 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 हाँ, in a proper way, by framing a legislation, getting it passed, then bringing into the public realm rather than a judicial jurisprudence. इसका भी बस एक आर्ग्यूमेंट है. ट्रिपल तलाक में क्या हुआ था? पहले जुडिशरी ने एक्ट किया, फिर लॉ बना. Are you understanding? So there's a term called judicial activism, where in certain scenarios the judiciary has to step in to bring reforms which are long overdue. And this is a classic example where judiciary came up upfront for the first time and parliament followed later. So both sides में आपको बहुत heavy arguments मिलेंगे आराम से. This was just a discussion. When you will read an article on this, you will develop more insights in terms of answer framing. This is an approach, how we have to go about it. However, I would again stress on this fact, write a way forward, like forward-looking positivist conclusion. Okay? Obviously. At least for us. We are of that point of view. Point of view can differ also, no issues. Okay, this is a topper copy which I wanted to show. So, All India Rank 3, Uma. Okay. क्या हो रहा है इसमें? See, this question is from Archaeological Anthropology, short note on Neolithic Revolution. The very idea that why Neolithic age is called as a revolution in the first place. So, क्वेश्चन में पूछा नहीं है, एक ब्रीफ टाइमलाइन का अगर इन्होंने आइडिया दे दिया है दैट दिस वाज स्टोन एज एंड probably from here agriculture began. So this is a very simple line drawing, so to speak. Okay, जो हम otherwise नहीं सोचते हैं लिखने के लिए. Now see, revolutionary characteristics, catering to the very idea of the question that why this age is revolution. If I look into the mind of a standard aspirant, I would define what is Neolithic age initially, फिर उसके features लिख देते. So you have written everything, but it is hidden. The examiner has to search the facts which validate why this age is revolutionary. यहाँ पे इन्होंने क्या किया है, revolutionary paradigms को platter पे दिया है, that see this is why it is revolutionary. So the examiner doesn't have to search anything and the arguments have been well listed in front of you. So tools, देखो tool का diagram, axe, stone, okay, agriculture implements. So one line on what the tool was, example diagram. Okay, similarly pottery, you can see how examples are being used. Rituals, art, so all the facets are covered, every angle is covered of the Neolithic age. Okay. See, however, other scholars highlighted the gradual nature of development, Mesolithic laying the seeds of cultivation, domestication and settlement, paved way for the Neolithic. This is highlighting the transition. That entirely we cannot say that everything originated in Neolithic period, therefore it is a revolution. The seeds were sown in the Mesolithic and they paved the way. Simple conclusion hai, do liner, right? Let's look at a 20 marker now. See, this is a short note on linguistic anthropology. Again, 10 marker, where a definition is given and evolution of the discipline has been explained. Anthropological linguistic, ethnosemantics, linguistic anthropology, applied anthropology. Even if you don't remember the years, see, exact year नहीं लिखा है, नहीं पता है exact year, पर gradation पता है, because anthropological linguistics is a earlier discipline. Linguistic anthropology वहाँ का pick किया हुआ है. See, linguistics क्या है? Scientific study of language, structure of language, syntax of language, grammar, कि कैसे कोई भी लैंग्वेज बनती है, डिफाइन होती है, कैसे हम उसका एक सेंस निकालते हैं. सो ऑब्वियसली वो स्टडी पहले हो चुकी होगी, हमने फिर उसमें एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल इंटरप्रिटेशंस निकालने शुरू किए. सो उसी को उन्होंने ऐसे रिप्रेजेंट कर दिया, राइट? Then highlighting the scope of the branch. What is the relevance or scope? So just take this point. Relevance will fetch you more marks if we are able to incorporate this angle. See, biocultural evolution again. instead of writing a definition, beginning with the flow chart. The hypothesis. अगेन डिस्कवरी ऑफ आयरन टेक्नोलॉजी. सो अगर आप देखो इन्होंने आर्कियोलॉजी में हर जगह पे ग्रेडेशन यूज किया है. ओके, डिस्पाइट द आइडिया दैट इफ यू डोंट नो द करेक्ट एज, सो जिस आंसर में हम श्योर है हम डाल सकते हैं ग्रेडेशन. और ग्रेडेशन के साथ इफ यू आर एबल टू रिमेंबर द टूल्स and you can depict them, right? This is a very common thing which we have observed in these answers. Har jagah mein, okay, tools are depicted. So small line drawings and small representations. This is the, look at this diagram. Megaliths across the world, Thai answer. How megaliths have been found. So examples from Germany, Austria, Italy, Africa, right? Southern India. So that 2-minute diagram practice which we were discussing in the initial part of the class, which can be used in multiple questions. Archaeology may be, out of Africa hypothesis may be. So it's like learning to draw them once and you use them a multitude of times. But do one thing, just practice this thing beforehand in your test series that you are able to write a good answer along with this diagram. वो एक knack होता है drawing का, right? That will come with practice. So these depictions will highlight your examples as well as good utilization of space. Okay, that will fetch marks. So this is cultural ecology. This is the school of thought. So what is in the definition, how the evolution of thought happened. Then the postulates. What are the premises of the school? Then diagram. Okay. Then methodology. See here, different scholars. So see, it's not entirely a theoretical answer despite being from theories. क्योंकि ये कल्चरल इकोलॉजी था, इसमें साइंस का एंगल था काफी, राइट? सो यू कैन गेट इनपुट्स फ्रॉम टॉपर आंसर्स ऑल्सो. जो भी अवेलेबल है उनको थोड़ा रेफर करके आप फ्रेमवर्क पे काम करो ताकि आप वैसे आंसर्स फ्रेम करो. ओके, दीज आर नथिंग बट गुड रेफरेंसेस फॉर अस. वी कैन लर्न फ्रॉम देम. No issues. It will only make us write good answers, better answers, that how to incorporate everything in one place within the stipulated time while completing the paper. Any doubts? Yes? Okay, so all the best everybody. Thank you for coming to the session. Thanks.